Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today at our parallel event, Hong Kong Women in the Time of the Pandemic. We chose this topic because we personally faced some of the issues and problems during this time. We wanted to learn more about the concerns faced by Hong Kong women by way of research and survey, and how they were addressed and resolved by the government and various organizations, including ourselves and individuals. We sought to find out more about how we can lean on each other and work together as the pandemic continues. But don't let me give it all away. Sharing for you all are native young Hong Kong women and council members of our federation. We have Ms. Winnie Chan, a practicing lawyer, and Ms. Heidi Wong, who is in the HR field in the financial industry, who have both attended UNCSW previously. We also have Ms. Karen Kwan, a marketing director of a digital marketing firm, which has won awards last year and helped us produce all of our animation and films today. During our parallel event, please feel free to put your questions in the chat box below, and we hope to answer them at the end of the session. We're also happy to receive any comments and feedback via the chat box. Without further ado, let us welcome our chairperson, Ms. Pansy Ho, and our founding chairperson, Dr. Peggy Lam, to give an introduction of Hong Kong women and our federation.
我哋係女兒、妻子、母親、奶奶。我哋走在時代前列，努力創造更美好嘅未來，係文明嘅開創者，社會進步嘅推動者，繁榮發展嘅貢獻者。我哋每日自強不息，共同為香港創造咗一個又一個嘅突破，一次又一次嘅第一名。我哋相信，只要堅持，夢想總係可以實現嘅。女性總係可以發揮不斷前進奮鬥嘅新時代巾幗力量。富有前瞻視野同思維嘅香港女性，總係敢為人先，以拼搏、以汗水開創先河。早喺1993年，香港已經有第一個跨界別嘅婦女團體——香港各界婦女聯合協進會，由當時少有嘅女性立法局議員林貝月嘉博士牽頭，同10位政商社福界別嘅傑出女性領袖破天荒創立香港婦協，立足香港，背靠祖國，面向國際，喺海內外一直擔當重要嘅橋樑角色。婦協一直凝聚跨界別、跨行業嘅婦女團體，以創新思維搭建合作交流平台，等女性可以積極關心同參與社會事務，加強對祖國嘅認識，同時擴大對外交往網絡，從而更好咁把握一國兩制嘅優勢，同埋國家提出包括一帶一路、粵港澳大灣區城市規劃等嘅建設，融入國家大局同大灣區發展，捉緊十四五國家規劃帶嚟嘅龐大機遇，利用女性軟實力，協力維護香港穩定繁榮，為促進特區社會同經濟嘅全方位及持續發展貢獻力量。婦協建立堅實嘅成就，成為香港婦女組織嘅典範。每年舉辦超過100項活動，亦都創下多個先河。為咗令年輕女性深入了解國家，我哋推出半邊天青年領袖培訓計劃，透過國情研習講座、領袖培訓工作坊、參觀考察等，擴闊佢哋嘅視野，為社會培育出色嘅人才，等佢哋可以積極回饋社會，貢獻國家。同時，把握香港作為大灣區核心城市嘅優勢，婦協喺2019年創辦巾幗健身力論壇，透過呢個國際平台，匯聚海內外巾幗精英，推動女性主導嘅社會創新力量，擴大婦女嘅國際影響力。論壇創造咗廣泛嘅機會，推動更多嘅女性，特別係年輕一代，發揮潛能，積極服務社會，樹立典範。婦協亦都係香港首個獲認可為聯合國經社理事會專業類諮商地位之非政府組織。多年嚟，定期派代表出席聯合國會議，代表香港婦女向國際社會發聲，將佢哋嘅聲音帶到國際舞台。 婦協亦都不斷拓展本地同海外婦女團體嘅聯繫，加強互動交流，討論各項同婦女發展相關嘅社會政策同實際經驗。我哋亦鼓勵會員出席聯合國會議同國際組織活動，為香港婦女發聲，將香港婦協宗旨宣揚到國際。香港婦協將會喺國家賦予嘅良好基礎上積極前行，敢於擔當。喺未來，藉住我哋嘅國際視野同人脈網絡，繼續發揮橋梁作用，同心協力，展現婦女嘅軟實力同對社會同國家嘅貢獻。
I'm Peggy Lam, the founding chairperson of the Hong Kong Federation of Women. Before Hong Kong was reunited with the motherland in 1997, the public was uncertain about Hong Kong's future, causing some families migrate to other countries, resulting in broken families. Thus, I founded the Federation in 1993, aiming to unite women organizations, enhancing women empowerment, encouraging them to stay in Hong Kong in order to safeguard Hong Kong's stability and prosperity. Over the past 30 years, the Federation has pioneered in many projects, and we are the first women organization in Hong Kong being recognized under United Nations ECOSO. We are also known as the largest membership, most powerful, and most influential women organization in Hong Kong.
Fellow sisters and friends, women are anchorages of families and pivotal keys of our society. In Hong Kong, women are blessed with many open doors, despite some doors may be obscured or less trodden. It is for this reason that the Hong Kong Federation of Women was established 28 years ago by Dr. Peggy Lam and 10 other distinguished founding members, with the objectives of bringing together our strengths to empower each other, to overcome gender gaps, and to establish our presence in world stages. We have always been at the forefront of this powerful vision to serve Hong Kong and to serve our nation, and have established ourselves to be the largest and most influential female organization in Hong Kong. As the first female organization asserted with the status of the United Nations Economic and Social Council, we actively take part in UN-associated events and share our voice with the international community. Over the years, we organized a host of international women conferences, including Asia-Pacific Women Forum and Women Power Forum, where we exchanged views with worldwide participants about the ever-evolving roles we play and how to contribute as a recognizable force. Women in Hong Kong are supported by an abundance of resources in terms of education, employment, and international network, allowing us to shine bright in a multitude of fields and professions. In the past decade, more than half of university entrants are female, and ratio of female students in graduate schools are also on par with their male counterparts. Whether in politics, professional services, art and culture, or other traditionally male-dominated areas, women excel, not only as individuals, but also as pillars of our country and our local community. Our federation will continue to build upon this hard-earned status and to take advantage of Hong Kong's role as a key city within the Greater Bay Area, to share our experience and international network so as to open more doors for women, particularly for the younger generations. These initiatives include the HKFW Young Women Actualization Program, where we organized visits to leading mainland and Greater Bay Area enterprises, such as Huawei, DJI, and Tencent, offering young women eye-opening opportunities which will become valuable guiding posts in their future career. Moreover, we regularly hold National Education Study Trip and Chinese History and Culture Study Trip, enabling our members to gain up-close insights about our nation's development, through which they can better unleash their potentials under our country's master plan. In 2020, we also entered the Guangdong Hong Kong Macau Greater Bay Area Women's Joint Development Plan, along with the major female organizations in this area, to declare our joint commitment towards building a better future for the Greater Bay Area. On behalf of the Federation, I express my sincere gratitude towards the All China Women's Federation for its continued support and guidance, the Hong Kong SAR government for maintaining close collaboration with us throughout the years, and the Liaison Office of the Central People's Government in Hong Kong for their warm encouragements. Last but not least, I am most grateful for each and every one of our members, for each step we take today will become footsteps followed by those after us. Let us achieve greater heights together in family and in career, and bring our talents to full blossom. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lam and Ms. Ho, for the great introduction of our federation, which has worked closely with the government to promote gender equality in Hong Kong. Women in Hong Kong have played a pivotal role in the political arena since the establishment of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region 23 years ago. In 1997, Dr. Elsie Leung became our first Secretary for Justice, and Dr. Rita Fan, our first Legislative Council President. In 2006, Dr. Margaret Chan, who was our first female Director of Health, was named the Director General of the World Health Organization. In 2017, Mrs. Carrie Lam took office as the first female Chief Executive of Hong Kong. Recently, more female leaders have been appointed to governmental roles, such as the head of the National Security Unit of the Hong Kong Police Force, as well as the Drainage Services Department. At the policy level, the government has encouraged women's participation in public affairs. Female civil servants now made up 38.6% of the entire civil servant workforce. 13 of our 19 permanent secretaries, which is the highest rank in civil service, are women. The government has also worked to expand the number of female members in statutory boards and advisory committees with a view to have more women's voices heard in policy making. In the private market, about 30% of the managerial positions are filled by women. Approximately 14% of the directors on the Hang Seng Index listed companies are women. As you will note, Ms. Laura Cha became the first female chairperson of the Hong Kong exchanges since 2018. In order to improve the participation rates of our female labor workforce, the government has implemented a range of family-friendly employment practices in order to create a more enabling environment for women. These include enhancing the services provided by childcare centers and home-based child carers. The government has also strengthened support for families in terms of elderly support services, as well as providing a friendly environment for breastfeeding, and they have called for implementation of family-friendly employment practices. To give you an example, recent efforts include the passing of the law to extend the statutory maternity leave from 10 weeks to 14 weeks, and the additional 4 weeks leave pay will be borne by the government in full. The government has also increased the statutory paternity leave from 3 days to 5 days. In a significant advancement towards inclusiveness, Hong Kong has strengthened legislation to prohibit discrimination against breastfeeding mothers, and the law is expected to come into force later this year. At the law reform level, Hong Kong has also played a very active role in law reform to promote the welfare of women. The Hong Kong Law Reform Commission had various projects to review the current law relating to Hong Kong women and provided preliminary proposals for reform. An example is the review of sexual offences. The Hong Kong Law Reform Commission issued a report proposing the introduction of a specific offence of voyeurism and a specific offence of non-consensual upskirt photography in 2019. The Law Reform Commission has also issued a report reviewing substantive sexual offences in 2019 and a consultation paper on sentencing and related matters in the review of sexual offences in November 2020. Now that we have an introduction about the situation of women in Hong Kong, how does life look like for Hong Kong women during the pandemic? We have prepared a homemade animation about a family in Hong Kong during the pandemic. The main character is a working woman and she's living in an average middle-class household. Fortunately, she's blessed with very supportive members of the family. She has a mother-in-law who is willing to offer a helping hand to take care of a 5-year-old kid, as well as a husband who is willing to assist with household chores. Let's take a look at the animation that we prepared for you today.
Hi everyone, this is Karen. So I hope you guys enjoyed the short animation depicting a middle-class working wife and mother during the pandemic in Hong Kong. Now, let us take a look at our survey data. To give you a general idea, there is around 7.5 million people in Hong Kong, with more women than men. Among the total population at mid-2019, over 7.3 million were usual residents and 214,000 were mobile residents. Just browsing through the latest figure, although there are more female than male, there are less women in the labor force at any age group, except for the age 15 to 24. We believe the reason could be the role of a homemaker that a woman needs to play. There are substantially more females who are homemaker or are economically inactive due to their engagement in household duties compared to their counterparts. Let us refer back to the survey that we've conducted from February 22nd, 2021 to March 13, 2021 to understand how this pandemic has changed lives of women in Hong Kong. We aim to provide a deeper understanding of root causes of various pressures and to see how we could alleviate those pressures. We've received over 770 responses. Most of those who replied are within the age 30 to 49, and 80.6% of them have studied higher education or above. 75.7% are married, and 90.2% have children, with more than 60% have 2 or more children. While most people's lives and work have been negatively affected by the crisis, our analysis show that overall, women's jobs and livelihood are very much vulnerable to the COVID-19 pandemic. According to our survey, around 60% of our participants felt an increase in work stress. We have listed the most prominent reasons here. First is the loss of job. In fact, according to our survey, around 11% of our participants left the job market due to the pandemic. Sometime from January 2020 to the time of our survey, which is February this year. This is in line with the unemployment rate is at an all-time high of 7% in Hong Kong. The unemployment rate of female aged 15 years and over have increased from 2.9% in 2017 to 5.3% this year. And in the same line, they were worried about underemployment, unpaid leave, and salary cut. Secondly, is family stress. 73.4% of those who had someone to take care of felt that it's their responsibility increased, including purchasing everyday necessities and anti-epidemic goods, in addition to an increase in responsibility of taking care of family member. They felt that there was a lack of assistance to watch over the elderly and children when they have to work. Furthermore, as almost every family member is at home 24/7, many of them have a hard time just maintaining a harmonious relationship with their better half, elderly, children, as well as their domestic helper. As school now are suspended for a long period of time, most of the kids have to study at home. The parents were worried about their studies, their e-learning, and whether their kids are catching up in school. Thirdly, further personal stressors in addition to financial and family include worry about their personal health and hygiene of our participants and their family members. 2, deteriorating health and exercise habits. 3, other personal stressors, including staying at home for too long, feeling bored with no social gathering nor networking, and unable to travel or visit family for fun. These various stressors have caused our participants to feel an increase in stress, anxiety, and negative thoughts and feelings. When ranking their anxiety level, more than 50% of our participants self-assessed that their anxiety is within 6 to 8 points out of 10 points. That is higher than normal anxiety level. We have asked one of our member, Dr. Carolyn Law, who is an assistant professor and also a working mother, to share her situation during this pandemic.
Hello, I'm Caroline Law. I'm from Hong Kong, currently working as an assistant professor in a tertiary institute in Hong Kong, which provide a degree on horticulture and horticulture. And also I have a lovely family with a 6-year-old son and also my husband living together. So I'm also a mom. So during this pandemic period of COVID-19, I used it to work sometimes at home, and also I also need to work sometimes at my campus at the school. For some time, I will need to have the online teaching with my students. Then I will ask my mother-in-law to take care of my son. But my mother-in-law 15 minutes walk from us, so I sometimes will need to take my son to mother-in-law's home, but in fact when we get out of the room, we need to get dressed and get everything prepared, and sometimes when we come back from mother-in-law's home, we need to pack and then urge my son to clean up all the toys, so it's take more than 1 hour in fact to just do such kind of short commuting. So sometimes I will think, okay, just to save some time, and I'll take care of my son at home myself, and I also need to cook a lunch. So in fact, I will not have some time for myself to work, and it is a little bit hard for me to catch up with those deadlines of my research projects and also some of the admin work. For those work which is with definite time frame, I may need to work overtime till midnight, or sometimes till 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. in the morning. Somehow I think that in this pandemic time, my research efficiency and also my work efficiency have been lowered. So for somehow, I do hope when the pandemic is getting better, my son get back to face-to-face class. Hopefully that will be better.
Thank you, Dr. Carolyn Law. I am sure this has been a tough time for working mothers during the pandemic. On top of worrying on job loss, stress from family, and physical mental health, there are also reports on an increase in domestic and sexual violence. The use of hotlines to report domestic violence and sexual violence during the pandemic has increased 25% and 30% respectively. We would like to share the story of one victim of domestic violence during the pandemic and how they're dealing with this trauma.
頭先評估咧已經完成㗎啦，咁咧你而家可以翻屋企啦，去執拾翻一啲行李。咁如果完成咗執拾咗行李之後咧，可以再致電熱線，我哋會有同事咧去聯絡你同埋安排入宿嘅。好，唔該，拜拜。
我呢舊年8月。就個仔同埋個新抱呢就打交，就因為舊年疫情冇， 做餐廳嘅餐廳呢就執咗笠，執咗笠就揾冇嘢做，冇嘢做呢就因為屋企呢就窮，就鬧交。鬧交呢，呢個家姐就啱啱嚟做親戚，鬧交就打交，打上起嚟個家姐就幫呢個妹打，就兩姐妹呢就打埋同我個仔一橫，我做家婆呢就佢圍開就俾打埋一橫，用隻燈冚我個頭，打我放低到地下流血。車人個孫仔就撳平安鐘，報警，就個車人嚟就 call 白車，我就去將軍澳醫院呢就十幾日就出院就揾嗰啲社工就俾揾個酒店俾我做到十幾日就住院啊，做咗14日住院。食嗰啲足架飯啊，就嗰啲身體好啲。我呢今年呢76歲啊，就嗰啲社工嚟叫我個仔嘅生保，即冇嚟自屋企住，係我做號主，我就多叫佢搬走，依就搬走，我就翻嚟住，就到而家，佢都冇嚟。
It is indeed very sad to hear about her experience during the pandemic. However, on a positive note, let's take a look at how Hong Kong has addressed some of these issues during the pandemic. Let's take a top-down approach and start with the actions taken by the Hong Kong government. The government provided a free community testing program. In addition, they are providing vaccination to all people in Hong Kong and offering different choices to them. There is also a Leave Home Safe mobile app so that if a person has visited any venue at or about the same time as a COVID-19 patient, the mobile app user will be notified promptly. The top government officials tackling the pandemic are women, including the Chief Executive, Mrs. Carrie Lam, the Secretary for Food and Health, Professor Sophia Chan, and the Director of Health, Dr. Constance Chan. The Hong Kong Women's Commission, which is an organization established by the government, created a platform to provide support to local women during this challenging time. These include the publication of video clips to encourage women, and these include sharing by women on how their identities have evolved, as well as practical tips on the importance of having me time in order to distress. Let's take a look at one of the videos the Hong Kong Women Commission have produced, and it's called Make Good Use of Time to Pick Me Up. Please enjoy.
大家好，我係 Angela 黃琪雅，係一位執業律師，亦都係一位音樂人。響疫情期間，我同我嘅團隊成員，包括爺爺余偉立同埋囡囡劉超彤，做咗一首原創兒歌《抱起我》。抱起我呢首歌，仲響一個兒歌比賽入邊，成為咗最後10強嘅作品添。而家就帶大家一齊去聽下。 希望大家都可以善用響疫情中嘅餘下時間啦。代代流傳着愛，緊握我手跨世代，日夜同步下載，親口訴說你的愛，若跌倒。 用你拐杖撐起我，憑着愛心施展快力。
Hope you enjoy the song, This Society. In these sections, we will share about what we did during the pandemic. In March 2020, our federation raised 1 million Hong Kong dollars and had it donated to China in support of its anti-pandemic works. We also have launched a new service, Health Hotline, to provide family health information to the public. Anyone who has questions about health can send WhatsApp or WeChat messages for consultations and will be answered by professional doctors. The health hotlines also seeks to increase public awareness of various health issues and to promote healthy practices. Health talks and activities were organized last year, including a health press conference. In view of the pandemic, many industry and community activities in Hong Kong are subject to assembly restrictions. Some working people, students, and the elderly stayed at home and reduced their outdoor activities. However, staying indoors for a long time leads to insufficient exercise and affects physical and mental health. In view of this, we held an online sharing sessions in August to encourage the public to use effective methods at home to actively maintain physical and mental health. These sharing sections attract more than 100 participants, and they learned about the importance of moderate exercise and balanced diet in preventing disease. We also invite teachers to teach some basic exercise which could be done at home, including chair exercise, yoga, and Tai Chi, which was provided to some members in class and also by the ways of Zoom. For Mother's Day, our members share photos of their beloved mothers and heartfelt message, which we made into video as a token of appreciation to their mother's hard work during the fight against the pandemic. Here are some of other online seminars and classes that we hosted last year and in this quarter, and we are hoping to host more in this year. We have many corporate members, and they also organize different types of activities to fight against the COVID-19, that including anti-pandemic walkbacks, guardians in various matters by way of videos on YouTube, online storytelling to children in Hong Kong, as well as teaching how to make your own face mask online. Free throw injection in October 2020, anti-epidemic little painter competition to give children the best in their minds in the fight against the epidemic through painting. We have mentioned e-learnings as one of the stressors during the pandemic for working women previously, including how mothers need to learn how to use the e-learning system, as well as making sure their children were learning and concentrating rather than just playing. E-learning has been a hot topic recently, as schools have been suspended for a very long time. In Hong Kong, it's almost 1 year. In this regard, we are honored to have 3 speakers. First, we have Professor Nancy from the Faculty of Education of Hong Kong University to share her findings from e-Citizens Education 360, of which she was the project coordinator and principal investigator. Second, we have Ms. Laura Leung, President of Saunter Club of Hong Kong, sharing how they start Project ABC based on Professor Nancy's research. Last but not least, we have a sharing by Ms. Eva Shi, Principal of FSSAS, regarding e-learnings and contact classes via internet. So let's see the videos.
It is my pleasure and honor to have this opportunity to introduce the e-Citizen Education 360 project at the Hong Kong Federation of Women's parallel event of the 65th session of the UN Commission on the Status of Women. The e-Citizen Education 360, or E360 for short, is an action-focused community-based study conducted during COVID-19 to contribute towards equitable quality education for all. Schools in Hong Kong were suspended for a very long time from the end of January 2020 when COVID-19 hit us. Schools had to continue to support students' learning when face-to-face teaching was abruptly stopped. The schools sector and the community at large raised this slogan: suspend schools, but not learning. In the E360 study, we asked the question: are schools, teachers, children, and families prepared for this? What is the extent of the disruption? And are there particular groups that are more seriously affected? The E360 project is built on the basis of a research project titled Learning and Assessment for Digital Citizenship, which is a 5-year project that started in November 2016, with the aim of understanding the development of children and youth in a highly connected world, wherein exposure to digital technology and social media are pervasive. It is funded by the Hong Kong Research Grants Council under the theme-based research scheme. The Wave 1 data collection was conducted during the period December 2018 to April 2019, before any disruption due to the social movement or the pandemic. We observe a very wide achievement gap across schools, both at the primary and secondary levels. Looking at the results, the encouraging message is that some of our students have achieved very high levels of digital literacy. However, it is also very worrying to see the huge digital literacy performance differences across the different schools, as well as within schools in both the primary and secondary school sectors. What is the implication of this performance difference when digital means of learning become the main school education channel for all students? The study also found cumulative effects of 3 types of digital divide: digital literacy, digital access, and family support. So based on this early project, we find that there are 3 key conditions for students to benefit fully from online learning. First, adequate digital competence. Second, access to large screen device at home. And third, family support on the use of digital technology. So the E360 study was designed to find out the extent to which suspend schools but not learning has been realized or not, and the crucial contributing factors. So E360 is an action-oriented study to engage community partners in interpreting and making aligned efforts to support learning at all levels. The project is supported by organizations and individuals in the community, including 2 universities, principals and professional teachers associations, NGOs, and the Hong Kong Education City, which is the education portal for Hong Kong students, parents, and schools, as well as the Hong Kong Cyberport. With the strong support received from all quarters, we were able to solicit the participation of schools around the territory within a short space of only 4 weeks, just before the summer vacation in 2020. 4 research bulletins have been launched since July last year. The first one reports on the overall impact of school suspension. The second one investigates school-level preparedness for online teaching and learning based on the analysis of schools' e-learning strategies and their implementation. Bulletin 3 reports on findings about teacher preparedness, and Bulletin 4 on leadership preparedness. Our survey data reveals that parents, teachers, and school leaders do not perceive any significant long-term adverse effect due to school suspension. In fact, there appears to be a silver lining in that there is a perception from different stakeholders that both students and teachers have improved on the digital skills. On the other hand, the data also reveal significant cumulative negative effects on students due to socioeconomic and digital divides, particularly among secondary students. Students from lower SES background experience significantly more worries than their counterparts from higher SES backgrounds. Based on these findings, school principals, teacher leaders, NGOs, and other supportive organizations have been holding seminars to share experiences and resources on how to support students and families to address challenges and maximize the benefits of online learning. One example of such support is the Project ABC, designed and organized by the Saunter Club of Hong Kong to provide thoughtful and comprehensive support to underprivileged families to address the challenges they face in supporting their children's e-learning. You will hear more about it from Ms. Nora Leung, the president of Saunter Club Hong Kong. Currently, we are preparing for the launch of our Research Bulletin 5, which focuses on parenting practices, its impact on student well-being, and the relationship of parenting practices with parental background and school factors. This is the end of my presentation, and I'm very happy and thankful for having this opportunity to share with this distinguished audience. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Nora Leung. I'm the current president of the Saunter Club of Hong Kong. During this pandemic period, it is essential for us to step up to create projects which would really help the community to overcome their difficulties. Dr. Law's eCitizen 360 study explicitly identifies the socio-economic gap in the society, which poses immense difficulties for students at the lower socioeconomic strata to pursue normal education. And also, there is immense stress posed on the mothers of the family. We have worked with 4 services partners to identify the needs of these underprivileged groups, for whom we launched our advocacy and services project by the name Project ABC. Let me share some photos with you. Project A is named Knowledge Superhighway because the objective is to pave the way for the needy to access knowledge through the internet. The project was realized through the generous donations by our club members and the generous sponsorships from internet services provider China Mobile Hong Kong. More than 1,600 prepaid SIM cards were distributed to needy students. For families with more than 1 child, pocket Wi-Fi was made to be distributed to mothers of the families. More than 2,500 families have benefited from the project. Project B, e-devices, is to improve the preparedness of e-learning by providing e-learning devices to needy students. Through our appeal to donation, more than 100 laptops were received from financial institutions and were donated to needy students, mostly in the upper forms of secondary schools. Project C is called Mothers Helping Mothers. A video channel was created to broadcast instructional videos on digital skills and videos for sharing parental guidances to mothers. We have also sponsored one of our services partner to provide individual counseling services to mothers and grandmothers. With this project, we joined forces with the University of Hong Kong in advocating community efforts to bridge the social-economic divides and to enhance resources to empower women through education. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I'm Eva. I'm a primary school principal in Hong Kong. When asked what kind of difficulties or challenges did we encounter during this period of time, I would say the first challenge, of course, is the health of all the staff, teachers, and students in the school when the pandemic has broken out. Basically, our school has prepared for the worst. So we have prepared that we will not know when school can be resumed for students. We have to help our parents and our teachers to learn how to use different technology to help our students learn. For teachers, it's not very difficult because our teachers are quite young and they adapt quite fast. But for a lot of parents, they do worry about their children not using technology wisely. So not many parents are very willing to allow their kids to use technology. So we have to convince them and help them to solve the technical problems one by one. On top of teaching, we think that it's important that we should not forget about students' moral education need and also their non-academic development. We have made a lot of interesting videos, and we also arranged some activities like letting the students sing in their home, and we put their singing together into a video, also their artwork, and also them cheering for the others. We have also encouraged students to make videos for the elderlies during the Chinese New Year. So we do everything we can to remind students in difficult times we don't only take good care of ourselves, but we also try our best to take care of others. Not only did we tell our students about that, we actually role modeled it. In the beginning of the pandemic, masks are very difficult to get. Eventually, we have got some donors who are willing to pay first. So I actually helped more than 50 schools to find masks so that the school can still be in operation and protect their staff. More than that, when the pandemic has lasted for more than a year, everybody feels tired and frustrated. I've been trying my best to cheer up the people around me, and also I mobilized a group of principals, primary school principals and secondary school principals. We made a music video together to cheer up for everybody in Hong Kong, to spread positive energy and encourage everybody to face difficulties. As a mother and as a principal, what is important for me, for my role during the pandemic, I would say it's very important for me to stay positive and make people around me feel that they can rely on me and get help from me so that we can overcome the difficulties and challenges together. And by doing this, we are actually also role modeling for our children and for our students. They can actually not only take care of themselves, and they can try their best to help others when we are in difficult time. Thank you.
Thank you for the sharing of our speakers. Previously, we have heard a victim of domestic violence during the pandemic. Now, we are pleased to have Ms. Doris Lee, Executive Director of Harmony House, and then Ms. Tweety Lam, Project Officer of Ring Lily, to discuss how Hong Kong is addressing the issues of domestic and sexual violence against women.
under the impact of COVID-19, there is an apparent rise in hotline calls on domestic violence and case admissions to women's shelters in early 2020. We, together with the Women Foundation, Ring Lily, have issued a joint statement to call for government support on short-term accommodation and community awareness measures to help prevent increasing conflicts among many families. With the funding support from the Hong Kong Jockey Club Emergency Fund, we partnered with Dorset Hospitality International and rent their hotel rooms to provide alternative safe spaces to over 40 families to help them away from immediate threat and violence when our shelter is nearly in full capacity. In the epidemic, our 24 Women Hotline is running well for crisis support. We also provide online counseling, programs, and gatherings to help their parenting problems and mental distress. Thank you for the contributions from many generous donors, because many families have suffered from underemployment and lost their jobs during that period. We have coordinated over $1 million on healthcare bags, face masks, and healthy food to help over 300 deprived families during their difficult times. Even COVID ends, our underprivileged families and children still need your care and support. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Tweety from Ring Lily. Ring Lily is the third sexual violence crisis center in Hong Kong. We operate 24 hours a day by providing free immediate crisis support, counseling, sexually transmitted infection screening and preventive treatment, legal information and judicial procedures like forensic examination, police statement taking, and other judicial procedures accompaniment. During the pandemic, there are more help-seeking inquiries. In March 2020, we have received 30% more of hotline calls and 50% of email inquiries. The lockdown does not only cause more violent behavior, but also limit the chance for the victims to seek help. Generally, victims seek help when they're alone. However, due to the lockdown, the perpetrators is always with them and monitor them, which means they're not able to seek help. With the self-quarantine and less social connection, it is more easily to trigger flashback to some victims of sexual violence, which causes mental distress. During the pandemic, victims may also hesitate and consider the risk of going out, or the appointments of counseling and psychological services are postponed, which make the victims hardly seek help. In light of this, we established an online help-seeking platform, SafeChat. We provide instant emotional support through social media and instant chat platforms like Instagram and WhatsApp to those experiencing sexual violence and their supporters, regardless of gender. Since it would be difficult for the sexual violence victims to chat and talk about the experience when they're home or with any others, it would be easier and more comfortable for them to reach out through testing.
I'm back. I understand that some of you cannot hear the speakers. I'm terribly sorry about that, but the show must go on. We'll see if we can share the videos or this video with you, because what they've shared with us today is very valuable and very insightful. So as a conclusion, we have heard the voices and hurdles of Hong Kong women during the pandemic, their poignant stories of the various difficulties they have faced. But they have continued to put on their brave faces and fight on for their families, often sacrificing and forgetting themselves, so much that they need to be reminded of taking their own me time. We have conducted the survey to gain a better understanding of the problematic areas so that they can be addressed. And indeed, Hong Kong women are under a lot of pressure. You might want to think about that when you're looking at your mother or your wife, your girlfriend, or your daughter. we have seen how Hong Kong government has used various measures and resources to try to assist Hong Kong women in terms of the pandemic, with the other arms of society working hand in hand. During this period, we have also seen the bravery of Hong Kong women who are part of the government and NGOs and schools and so on. In fact, 88.8% of active nurses are female, and around 60% of the total number of registered volunteers actively participating in volunteer service and helping those in need in society are also female. However, due to the time limitation, we were unable to share all of their work today. But nonetheless, we would like to give our deepest gratitude and heartfelt applause to all the people who have tried to help alleviate pressures of Hong Kong women and have fought for women equality and empowerment, even during the pandemic. It is during these extreme times that we see the strength of women and the importance of the role that they play in their family and in society. In the recent research of McKinsey & Co., it shows that if the negative impacts of the pandemic on women were addressed, then global GDP would grow by 13 trillion US dollars. Such actions include investments in education, family planning, maternal health, digital and financial inclusion, correcting the burden of unpaid care work related to childcare and caring for the elderly. We believe that this is equally applicable in Hong Kong. In our survey, 78.5% of our participants tried working from home, and they have commented that the advantages of work from home includes the decrease of time spent on transportation, increase of health protection, and more time with family. Although the government has called on all listed companies to appoint more female board members, and as mentioned earlier, Ms. Laura Cha, our first female chairperson of the Hong Kong Exchanges and Clearing Limited since 2018, and others are all committed to driving change in this regard, Hong Kong still lags behind its international peers on women directors. There are various studies as to the benefits of more female board members, which we do not need to elaborate because it's been studied and it's quite obvious. But we need the companies to consider these benefits and take action. We believe that it is possible to transform work from home policies adopted during the pandemic into long-term, family-friendly, and considerate company policies, such as providing family support and having flexible working arrangements, which is not just beneficial to the individual, but also to the company and society. We believe that it is possible to turn the challenges faced during the pandemic into opportunities for growth. But this cannot be accomplished by the government alone. We need the help of everyone, including you. Some of the women who responded to our survey have provided some insightful comments. Some of them are shown here. As we can see from the comments that, let me just summarize them. 1, we need to continue to work to encourage each other. 2, we should continue to conduct research so that we can improve. 3, we should promote and encourage men to help with the housework for women equality. And 4, our federation should continue to provide services to Hong Kong women. So as a big summary, Hong Kong, everyone, women, male, all genders, they continue to fight against the pandemic together, rising above it all. We're building our resilience and making Hong Kong a better place for everyone. Oh, it seems like it's about time for our Q&A. Thank you all for joining us today. It is very unfortunate that we are unable to have a more interactive session, as we would really like to hear your views, but we hope you enjoyed our parallel event. We have our presenters here today who will answer any questions raised in the chat box. But before that, let me just put on my mask. Sorry.
So let's see. Okay, I got this question here. Okay, let me go first. Okay, listen to this. Do you think it is realistic to ask men to take up more housework or responsibilities at home in a traditional family in Hong Kong? Anyone?
I think it is. It seems to be quite hard because women tend to be a bit more nurturing, and they have this, natural caregiving quality.
So, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. I agree, and I believe that women have this nurturing, caregiving quality. I mean, I hope I have that too, but I don't think that means that men should have less responsibilities in the house. I mean, it depends what the men and the female wants. I grew up in a traditional family where, my father was a breadwinner, or I guess in Hong Kong you would say a rice winner, and my mother stayed at home. However, I believe that this role has been changing and evolving over time. There are many working mothers in Hong Kong. They're taking more responsibilities at work. And in order for them to take these responsibilities, their husband or their boyfriend or their partner should take more responsibilities at home. They need the help and the support of their man at home the way that she would support him. Now I see my father becoming more of a family man. I see him doing the dishes or cleaning the table, and I see my male colleagues, taking more responsibilities at home and for the family, such as sending their children to school or picking them up.
Yeah, I think I echo that comment too. In Hong Kong, quite a number of schools, they would take into consideration the parental involvement when they interview students or potential students for admission into the school. I believe that the logic behind that is that parents share equal responsibility towards the development and the growth of the child. So they need to lead by example by sharing the household responsibilities equally.
Yeah, I think that's how we can get more me time, as shared in the animations.
I'm sure.
Let's take a look at another question.
Yes.
What about this one?
Yes, this question is, how do you feel about the commencement of the national security law as well as the recent electoral reform? This is a pretty pressing question. It would be of interest to our international audience. Anyone would like to have a go at this one?
Yeah, I can go first. About the national security law, right? With the NSL in place, people with different views, different opinions can now actually express themselves freely and in proper ways and in suitable place without actually damaging the safety of other innocent citizens and infrastructure, which is very important, at least to me. And I would say in a civilized society, we should actually respect different views of others, and whether it be political, religious, or others. So, with the national security law has in place, it has actually provided peace, stability, and safety, which is really very, very important to our economic growth in Hong Kong and other areas.
I completely agree with that. I also believe, well, I believe we all believe that such stability also provides a more stable platform for women, and thus further empowering us to do more. The national security laws has also provided a way to help schools return to normal, especially with the added issue of the pandemic. It has reduced disturbances so that students can truly focus on their studies and their examinations. It is also a way for them to learn about their roots and their identity so that they can learn to love our country, our culture, and a safe and proper environment.
Yeah, it is also under such environment that women and men, children and the elderly can build up a confidence and maturity, reach their full potential. and unite together for betterment of our society. I think we have to rebuild the positive value of our society as well.
Yes, I mean, similarly, in relation to the electoral reforms, we trust that the electoral reforms will improve and increase the government's governance capabilities, help facilitate the city's economic recovery, help better integrate into the nation's overall development, business, and healthcare. And lastly, we believe it will also give full play to Hong Kong's unique advantages under the one country, two systems principle.
Okay, let us see any other questions. Oh, maybe this one. Unemployment is at an all-time high in Hong Kong. How does this affect the life of women in Hong Kong?
I'll take this one.
Okay.
I think this is a pretty important question with dealing with the current situation in Hong Kong. Unemployment rate is, as you all know, at an all-time high in Hong Kong, and it is, unfortunately, that we believe the situation might worsen as time passes by. As you have seen or heard from a victim of domestic violence earlier today, women, they also share the financial burden of the family, or if they're not sharing the financial burden of the family, it is possible that the unemployment rate might increase the financial stress in the household, and it would, as a result, increase the mental stress for women and also the chances of domestic violence in the households. I believe, as mentioned by various speakers in today's event, it is more important than ever that women should unite themselves to help each other and to empower one another. We believe and we hope that if we do that in the future, even after the pandemic subsumes, this will create a better environment for women in Hong Kong.
Thank you. I just saw this question. I think it's perfect. It's how can Hong Kong serve as a good facilitator in the future development of the Greater Bay Area? I think this is quite good because, Karen, since you do a lot of business there, could you answer this question and at the same time share your first-hand experience with us?
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, sure, fine.
I've been working in the Greater Bay Area since 6 years ago, and I'm actually blessed that I could see the opportunity in the Greater Bay Area on high-tech economic and as a core business hub. Many enterprises that in China, in the Greater Bay Area, wanted to recruit talents from Hong Kong. They do have salary tax relief. It's also provided for Hong Kong people. So I do encourage young people to actually explore and their startup business in the GBA, since many of us in Hong Kong are concerned, about our future in terms of employment prospects, the unemployment rate. The government has been exploring ways for us to take up employment and start business and actually maybe study in the Greater Bay Area. As I know, some schools in Hong Kong have already been working hand in hand with schools in the Greater Bay Area in terms of exchange programs, etc. And I do believe Hong Kong is still one of the most open and economically vibrant region in the country, providing an amazing platform, an abundance of resources in terms of financial, business, trading, innovation, technology, professional services, etc., as also depicted in the animation. So Hong Kong, with its amazing platform and vast experience in the international field and intelligent minds, would be able to synergize with other cities in the GBA to provide more quality job opportunities for Hong Kong youth and in general Hong Kong people to reach their aspirations. That's what I think.
Thank you so much for sharing, your personal experience. I hope it helps people who are considering going to the Greater Bay Area or coming to Hong Kong, you know, we always welcome, you know, new talent and incredible minds. And, you know, we still have a few questions and some time left. Why don't we take a look here? You know, if you still have a burning question, now is your chance. What about this one? So we have a question which says, do you think traditional gender roles are more severely sexist in Chinese culture? When it is something embedded culturally, what is the best path forward to advance women's rights in this region? Would one of you like to attempt, Winnie? I mean, it somehow touches upon our first question as to the traditional role that a husband plays at homes, whether they can.
I think it's probably universal to say that you know, historically women have focused most of the time at home, while men have historically been the breadwinner and, or as you've said, the rice winner of the family, particularly in Asian cultures. But I think that sort of stereotype, the gender stereotype, is slowly changing over time. As you've seen in the statistics presented earlier, I think women have become increasingly active in both participation in political affairs as well as participation in the private market. So it's sort of becoming a trend that women share responsibilities with men equally. And I believe that the sort of stereotype is slowly changing over time.
I think
although historically, you know, men have been perhaps more involved in career or in their jobs, where women tend to focus more time at home and providing for the child and the babies.
I think that's especially the case, you know, with the new generation. And with the new generation, their education is quite different from what our elders or what our parents studied. And so I think it's not like they're cutting off or they're blocking. No, it's not like men are cutting off to this idea of taking up more responsibility at home or having the sexist idea. But, you know, it's just more of I think an education or raising awareness. And it's as when you see more females, you know, getting promoted or then it will naturally, I think, change.
And I think in relation to the second part of the question, which is the path forward, I think that empowering women is very important. As women, you know, some women might be a bit more shy than their male counterparts, and it is very important that women support each other, because, you know, with that we would be able to join forces or to unite amongst ourselves in order to support not only the men in the family as well as the women community, so that we become, you know, we form a very strong network amongst ourselves. And I believe that would, you know, contribute to more gender equality in the future.
Okay, sorry, I think we have a question here. So we have this question, which is, how can women be more visible and contributing to enhancing the sentiment of loving and respecting our country in the role of a mother or a family member without just depending on government or schools? So I think this touches upon how a woman as an individual, without help from the government or schools, but I mean, would you like to try to answer, or? I mean, loving and respecting our country is, I think it's not just about the big picture of promoting, but it's done every day, you know, it's like something that you do in daily life. So teaching your child our culture, our history, you know, growing up and studying I feel like I've actually missed a lot of the culture or about the history of China and Hong Kong and how it has developed. I think that's actually quite important in terms of education because, you know, that's who I am and that's what I'm made of. Is there something?
I think learning the our roots, you know,
Our
where
roots,
we are from.
history.
I think Chinese history is a very good,
Very important.
way for us to understand our country, and you know, China has, you know, over 5,000 years of history, and we can learn a lot from history. And it's very important that at home, to the extent possible, I know a lot of parents are now struggling with work commitments and having the children attend classes online. I think to the extent possible, if you know, it's possible to provide Chinese history
as a base.
As a base.
I think they can learn in the daily life because a lot of the history museum or some of the calligraphy or some Chinese painting or related is all about the cultural education. They learn or to have an idea since they were young.
I have to say, you know, our federation, we have some of these online via Zoom during the pandemic. I think that's a great opportunity. And, you know, once we're able to travel more freely, then, you know, Shenzhen is just, was it 15 minutes?
15 minutes
15
away.
minutes away, you know, that's a great starting point. These cultural activities, you know, bringing your child there or going personally yourself really makes a difference.
Eye-opening.
Yes, exactly. So, you know, like the Greater Bay area and what we've mentioned earlier, it's a great opportunity. I mean, is there anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I'm fine for now.
I see that the time is almost up. So is this the last question or we have time for one more?
I think, yeah.
Okay, I think we're done. I'm so sorry. If you have further questions, please feel free to email us at info@hkfw.org. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope that we'll be able to meet you soon in Zoom or Google Meet or in person.
Snapchat or something.
Snapchat too. Have a wonderful evening, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.